Hey everyone! We are working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content and it is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button right now as we proceed. Good morning, Blue Jays Nation, and welcome to what might be the most exciting news you're going to hear all week. Spring training is officially here, pitchers and catchers are reporting to camp as we speak, and just when you thought the off-season couldn't get any more interesting, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. just dropped something on social media that has the entire baseball world absolutely buzzing. We're talking about a physical transformation so dramatic, so impressive, so completely unexpected that it's got fans, analysts, and probably every pitcher in the American League doing a double take. The Super Bowl is over, football is done, and now it's time to get back to what really matters, baseball season. And folks, if what we're seeing from Vladdy is any indication of what's coming this year, the Blue Jays are about to make some serious noise. Pull up a chair, get comfortable, because we're diving deep into why this transformation matters, what it means for Toronto's championship aspirations, and why this might be the most important off-season development for the entire franchise. Let me set the stage for you because context is everything here. Spring training has arrived, and unlike last season when the Blue Jays had all sorts of question marks and position battles to sort out, this year they're in a massively better position. Last year at this time, we were still wondering who was going to play third base, who was going to fill right field, what the rotation was going to look like at the back end. Then Addison Barger came out of absolutely nowhere to play multiple positions and became a legitimate contributor. That's just how this time of year goes in baseball. You never know who's going to step up and seize an opportunity. But this year feels different. This year feels more settled, more confident, more ready to compete for a championship. And a huge part of that confidence stems from what Vladimir Guerrero Jr. just revealed. Have you seen the pictures? Have you seen the seriousness of what Vladdy has done this offseason? I know it hasn't been a very big time frame since the season ended, but at the end of the day, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is looking like a lean, mean, fighting machine, and he is absolutely ready to dominate this upcoming season. The man is looking jacked, completely transformed, ready to go. And if you haven't seen these pictures yet, you need to check out his Instagram immediately because the difference is genuinely shocking in the best possible way. Vladdy has definitely cut significant weight. He looks like he's ready to explode onto the field. He looks excited and motivated in a way that should have every Blue Jays fan absolutely pumped for opening day. And you know what I think drove this transformation? I think he carried a certain chip on his shoulder and some serious motivation from the World Series loss directly into his off-season training regimen. Think about what these guys went through. They got all the way to the World Series. They tasted what it's like to compete for a championship. They experienced the highest highs of playoff baseball. And then they had their hearts broken in devastating fashion. That kind of experience either destroys you or it transforms you into something greater. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. clearly chose transformation. The Blue Jays opening day roster and lineup is shaping up to look something like this. George Springer leading off, followed by Addison Barger, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in the heart of the order, Anthony Santander providing protection, Kazuma Okamoto adding another powerful bat, Dalton Varsho bringing defensive excellence, Alejandro Kirk or Tyler Clement behind the plate, and Andres Jimenez rounding things out. That's not a bad lineup to boast about at all. When you look at that top to bottom, there's legitimate power, there's on-base ability, there's speed in the right spots, and most importantly, there's depth. This isn't a lineup where pitchers can take a breath after getting through the top 3 hitters. This is a gauntlet. The bench is probably going to feature some combination of Miles Straw, Leo Jimenez, David Schneider, Joey Loperfido, and obviously Tyson Hangman, who's been generating buzz lately. The bullpen is going to be absolutely stacked with Eric Lothar sliding in after being the odd man out of the starting rotation. Then you've got established arms and question marks that include Brandon Little, Mason Fluharty, who's probably going to get a legitimate shot, Brandon Fisher, who had a great year last season, and Tommy Nance, who looked like he finally figured things out. We're also expecting to get guys back healthy like Jimmy Garcia, and hopefully he'll pair up really nicely with Jeff Hoffman at the back end of that bullpen, creating a shutdown combination. But the bigger questions, the things we're really going to be watching during spring training position battles, revolve around who becomes the depth pieces. Does Joey Loperfido finally get consistent playing time so we can see what he can do with a full shot? Because at the end of the day, he had a really solid up and down season with the Blue Jays when he was actually in the lineup. He hit around 300, which is excellent. But the problem was there wasn't really a place to play him consistently, so it wasn't worth keeping him up in the majors full-time. Those kinds of questions still linger for the Blue Jays organization, and we're going to see how they get resolved over the next few weeks. Outside of Blue Jays news, the Yankees finally made a move yesterday, signing somebody who didn't exactly help them get over the championship hurdle last year. They re-signed first baseman Paul Goldschmidt, which means their lineup is going to look pretty much identical to what it did last season. And in Paul Goldschmidt's case, he's not getting any younger. He's still a hell of a defensive first baseman, I'll absolutely give him that. But the bat didn't follow quite as much last season as it had in previous years. I've always loved Paul Goldschmidt as a player and a person. I hope for the best for him, just maybe not while he's wearing a Yankee uniform. But those pieces are happening across the division while the Blue Jays are solidifying their own roster. There are also some wonderful young pieces at the end of the Blue Jays bullpen that are going to be fascinating to watch this spring. I'm looking specifically at Ricky Tiedemann, who's going to be the top prospect to monitor as spring training progresses. And then there's Cody Ponce, who's getting his first real chance to show what he can do for the Blue Jays after coming over from the Korean baseball organization where he was literally the MVP. That's incredibly impressive and definitely worth paying attention to. So that's what we're looking at this spring training. We'll obviously have more details, more depth, more analysis and discussion over the next few days, but I wanted to focus on something that's significantly more interesting and important right now. Let me come back to Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s transformation because this deserves way more attention than it's getting. The man is looking absolutely shredded. He's cut significant weight. He looks lean and powerful and explosive in ways we haven't seen since he first broke into the majors. That swing is still going to be there because his hitting ability isn't about brute strength, it's about timing, plate discipline, bat-to-ball skills, and baseball IQ. But when you combine all of those existing elite skills with a body that's now in absolutely peak physical condition, you're creating something truly special. You're creating an MVP caliber player who's ready to dominate the American League. Think about what this transformation represents beyond just the physical changes. This shows dedication. This shows commitment. This shows that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is taking his craft seriously, that he's not satisfied with being good, that he wants to be great, that he wants to be the best player in baseball. When your franchise cornerstone, your face of the organization, your highest paid player demonstrates this level of commitment during the offseason, it sets the tone for the entire clubhouse. It tells everyone else that this is the standard, this is what championship-level preparation looks like, this is what it takes if you want to get back to the World Series and actually win it this time. Now let's talk about the Blue Jays rotation because this is another area where the team has made massive improvements. The rotation now boasts basically everybody, including last year's opening day starter who is currently projected to be the fifth starter. Yeah, you heard that correctly. Jose Berrios, who opened the season for Toronto last year, is now basically at the back of the rotation. That's not a knock on Berrios at all. That's a testament to how much the Blue Jays have upgraded their starting pitching depth. Speaking of which, let's talk about Dylan Cease for a minute because the Blue Jays absolutely struck gold with this acquisition. When you look at strikeouts over the last 5 years, there are only 2 guys at the very top of that list, and they're both now playing for the Toronto Blue Jays. Kevin Gausman and Dylan Cease highlight the rankings for most strikeouts over the last half-decade. To see them both on the same team is incredibly impressive and represents a stroke of absolute mastery by the Blue Jays front office. After this season, this rotation is going to look very different as contracts expire and players potentially move on, but now they at least have an anchor piece between Cease and hopefully Cody Ponce developing into something special. The Blue Jays agreed to a 7-year, $210 million deal with Dylan Cease, which was obviously the biggest move of their entire offseason. They brought in the strikeout king to do exactly what he does best, miss bats and dominate opposing lineups. Now, last year wasn't particularly friendly to Mr. Cease, who posted a 4.55 ERA across 168 innings. But even in a down year statistically, he was still a strikeout king, still getting swing and miss, still showing elite stuff. He had a bit of a rough time in San Diego last season, but before that when he was with the White Sox, he was absolutely cruising. His whip was consistently around 1. His ERA was right around 3.5. He had a couple scattered rough patches here and there, but overall he was dominant. 2 somewhat rough years with the San Diego Padres where he didn't quite put everything together, partly because the team around him frankly sucked, to be completely honest. But I'm looking very forward to seeing what Dylan Cease can do with an experienced, intelligent catcher like Alejandro Kirk who can help him maximize his arsenal. I think that's going to be the difference maker this year. I think that relationship between Cease and Kirk is going to elevate his performance and put him over the top into true ace territory. When you look at his baseball savant page, Dylan Cease is literally in the 80th percentile or higher on everything you can humanly imagine. And then his standout numbers, obviously in the 90th and 95th percentile, are all in the strikeout department. Incredibly good stuff. The Blue Jays desperately needed somebody who can miss bats consistently, and Dylan Cease is going to give opposing hitters a completely different look and a level of seriousness they're going to have to figure out. With him anchoring this rotation, the Blue Jays now have a 1-5 punch that's going to make it incredibly hard for American League East teams to score runs consistently. This is going to feel oddly familiar, I think, to many longtime Blue Jays fans. This rotation is going to feel reminiscent of what the 2016 Blue Jays rotation looked like, where they just missed bats constantly, everybody made their starts on time and healthy, and the team marched confidently right into the postseason. I think that's exactly what this is going to look like this year for the Blue Jays with Cease and company leading the way. When you combine elite starting pitching with a powerful offensive lineup featuring a transformed Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in the middle, you've got all the pieces necessary to compete for a championship. So here's what I need from you. If you're as excited as I am about what's coming this season, if seeing Vladdy's transformation has you pumped for opening day, if you think this Blue Jays roster is genuinely built to make a serious run, smash that like button right now. Drop a comment and let me know what you think about Vladdy's physical transformation. Do you think it's going to translate directly to even better performance on the field? Are you confident this Blue Jays team can get back to the World Series and actually win it this time? Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our spring training coverage as pitchers and catchers report and we get closer to meaningful baseball. We're going to be covering all things Blue Jays every single day, breaking down roster battles, analyzing performances, and getting you ready for what should be an absolutely incredible season. Thank you for watching, Blue Jays.